Cataclysm is a unique apocalypse survival game in many ways. Most importantly, you can basically create any character you want and throw them into wildly different scenarios. In this world, we not only have a unique hero, but a novel goal. We find ourselves as one of the Fae, a member of the Wild Hunt. Not a terrifying force of the Fae Wild, but a mere scout, on a final test before being allowed into the prestigious order. Our task is simple: travel to a dead world and slay an errant god. Easy, right? Valzane the Forge God is no simple being. Although he bleeds, his forge is surrounded by his various servants and machinations, and he himself is heavily protected by traps and magic. We will have to find a way to survive, build ourselves up, and become strong enough to face off against a deity and escape alive. Welcome to Cataclysm, to kill a god. Fresh out of the portal back to the Feywilds, he knows that this portal is something it is going to bring along other creatures, other things from the in-between realms. So we need to get away from here rather quickly. We need to find a place to bed down and assess ourselves. We need to find some place that is not going to kill us right away. We do have very little in the way of provisions, of food. Pretty much nothing, actually. We have a little bit of clean water. And then we have a stone knife in our sheath. We do have our book that we got from our homeland of the Feywild, the Book of Trees, which will allow us to learn quite a few of the Druid spells we need to complete our mission. But we need the time to be able to sit down and do them, which means, again, we need a place to get away from the portal and get to safety. Since our first real goal is to find a patch of woods that will be good to settle down, we are going to take advantage of one of our mutations right away, Mycorrhizal Communion. As a member of the Feywild and the Wild Hunt themselves, Hunter does have the ability to reach out to commune with trees and comprehend their ancient wisdom, allowing us to basically meditate next to a tree. We'll do it for until about noon. And this tree is going to actually teach us what the nearby forest looks like. We can see that the forest only goes down to about the portal that we left. There's an evac shelter down there, and then it goes pretty far north. But unfortunately, it does also seem like there's a lot of swampland here. We have enough experience with forests that we know that we don't want to bed down by swampland. For that reason, specifically, there is a Diplosaurus here. The dinosaurs do have a tendency to linger around swamplands. Some of them will be greatly beneficial to us, defending us, naturally, from zombies and other predators, but others are not going to be so good. I'm going to head back into the forest for now, following these man-made trails north, and see if we can find another forest. It will put us far away from our objective to move this far, but it might be worth it just to kind of scout the area a little bit before we find a place to settle down. In the midst of trying to forage, we were attacked by a goose. Of course it's a goose. Well, we can go ahead and take advantage of our first of our spells as Hunter puts away his knife, calls upon his ancestral powers, and creates a thorny arc of stranglethorns beneath the creature, which had no effect. It's supposed to be able to make them bleed, but it appears that the goose is proficient enough to not get bled by that, so we're just gonna hunt it down with a knife. The goose ran at full speed too, by the way. Oh man, just completely lost track of it almost instantaneously. Well, so much for our meal. As we were heading south, we have spotted in the distance a crystal outcropping. That's something we're going to have to want to come back to, but not something we're going to want to mess with right now. Okay, a new forest. Let's commune again once we get a little bit farther in and see if this is going to be a better place to live. There will be wasps nearby, but if I don't mess with them, they're probably not going to mess with me. Reaching out, Hunter once again touches the trees and asks for help guiding him. No. We need a much thicker forest than this. As we're moving, we also have seen horses Horses should be able to be something that Hunter can tame. We're going to go ahead and mark those on the map, in fact. We will be back for that probably sooner than later, in fact. Returning for those horses in order to have not only a pet, but something to help us get around as early as possible. As we're moving, we have found yet another crystal outcropping. Another forest, another communion. Hunter seeks a safe place. And this is a little swampy, but it's the best forest we found so far. As we were heading down to check out the rest of this forest, we do see a massive stadium come up in the distance. We have little interest in interacting with human things right now. We need to get away from this. We're already low on water. Our water skin is empty. But we do have plenty of pools of water, and we were prepared. Hunter is not some normal day one survivor of the Cataclysm. We are a trained member of the Wild Hunt, a scout in the mortal realms for the Feywild. Dealing with something as simple as needing water is no real challenge, as we cast Purification Seed, summoning into our hands a magical seed that can be squeezed to release purifying dust, which can then use to purify up to a gallon of water. Go ahead and activate that, create some dust, and purify the water in our water skin. Between that and being able to proficiently forage in the nearby area, we have no need to rush. We are not in immediate danger of survival. Although that is a stone golem. Where is it? It's to our southwest. Okay, I said we weren't in immediate danger. I meant survival needs. That stone golem could easily kill Hunter right now. We have nothing in the way of armor, and we have nearly nothing in the way of weapons. We do need to find a place to sit down and study our book so that we can learn some spells. The first of which is actually going to be a spell that allows us to summon a bow from our homeland. After some exploration, Hunter has finally found a place that will suit our demands. It is a thick forest near some water, but not too close to invite danger. We have some nearby locations, including the home of our target, the Forge of Wonders. We're not too close to any other locations, not too close to swamps, and we do need to explore this area nearby, but we can see a city off in the distance, and we get the inclination that it's a fairly large city as well. Now we just need to search this forest to find a location that has the necessary resources for what we want. What we're looking for is a pine tree with some water nearby. Having some water during our early camp days will be incredibly valuable. So there is some water right here, and there is a pine tree right there. So we could probably get started right here in the center of the forest. So what we're going to be doing is we need to make a lean-to out of the pine tree. So we need an object of hammering one or more, a few long sticks from nearby trees. Fortunately, it's quite easy to gather everything we need. We can use these low-lying bushes in order to forage for rocks, and sometimes get a beautiful hit where we just got a whole bunch of eggs. That will be our breakfast for the next couple days. We also can find these dead trees that whenever we pick them, it'll drop a whole bunch of sticks and twigs, which Hunter then haul back to our pine tree. While we're moving around, we're also looking for these birch bark trees. They drop a bark that is useful for a lot of various things, and we would like to harvest them as soon as possible so that we can potentially get another harvest of them in before winter comes. But the likeliness of that is actually very low anyways. After only a little bit of preparation, we now have all of the sticks we need. We just need to go through and search some of these bushes for some stones, and we'll have our initial camp set up. I'm sorry, we just found a swarm of bees? A swarm of bees displaced from the hive. Without support and nutrients of an apiary, we're taking root somewhere, and they'll die in a few days. Okay. I didn't know you could just find a swarm of bees as a object that can be picked up. Hunter's realizing that his fur cloak, as beautiful as it is a little bit too much, so we're leaving behind our fur cloak and hat, letting our beautiful leaf hair and antlers out while we search for some rocks. I'm sure there is a more effective way of doing this. Oh, as I was about to say, that's a flint, not a rock. But I'm sure there's a more effective way to do this. And if you do know a more effective way to do this out in the wilds, please leave that and any other tips for us in the comments below. My experience surviving in the wilds and camping, as we are going to have to be doing, is fairly low. We are going to be learning this together. Hunter is a druid, but more importantly, he is a member of the Feywild, and he is not going to be relying on the technology of humans whenever possible. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to go over to them and salvage. We are going to be salvaging from humans all the time, from the wreckage of their world. Hunter sees humans and their creations as just another thing to be salvaged from. It is another resource to be exploited, but also respected, just like the forest itself. Well, there is a small boulder there. We'll want that eventually. These boulders will be useful as sort of early anvils, but unfortunately we can't break them. We don't have the ability to do that. If we could, we'd be able to get quite a few rocks. Our early tools are going to be kind of important. As we're moving through, though, we did just realize there is a lot of cattails over here. I do want to take a moment and pick a bunch of these, because there is a cattail jelly that we can make. But we don't have anything to store it in. Okay, we'll have to keep an eye out for that. Because if we get a cattail jelly, Hunter's aware of the fact that because of his training as a survivalist and as a scout, a cattail jelly will actually prevent us from getting infected wounds. And we won't need to... Hey, there's a large rock. With our cattail and antiseptic recipe, we're not going to have those concerns that other starting survivors would have, where we could get bit by something on day one and simply die from a basic infection. We are going to have to be careful, though, because, again, we are not terribly durable. Hunter is a Fey, weak of strength, but highly perceptive. With antlers on his head, he's fairly good in a melee fight and will often be able to stab people with his antlers, but unable to wear helmets. Hollow bones means that he is much faster, both moving and attacking, but also much more frail, able to carry less, and taking a lot more damage from bashing injuries. With animal empathy, we can easily tame animals. He is immune to disease, enjoys books, can see in the night fairly well, and is considered beautiful by most humans. We have a little bit in the way of being able to regenerate mana with extra mana, and leaves that cover most of our hair that allows us to bake in sunlight to gain nutrients. Of course, as a scout, he is an outdoorsman and is capable of seeing far distances over flat land. But we also have a Feloderm, which is a woody exoskeleton over our skin that allows us to ignore a little bit of wetness, but also allows us to stop a little bit of damage. From human standards, Hunter would be considered a psychopath because he does not feel guilt for killing humans. But remember, he is no human. And we are slightly spiritual. Our spiritualness does not come from a religion, though. It comes from the desire to be one with nature. But it does mean that we'll be making some bone charms to leave around our campsites to remind ourselves of home. Okay, that method was not working. So we are going to make a digging stick. A digging stick will allow us to dig at the ground a little bit and get rocks very quickly. As much as Hunter didn't want to, our first night is unfortunately going to be spent sleeping on our cloak and hat and not in a shelter. We did not find rocks in time, and our digging stick is incomplete. After just a little bit more crafting in the morning, we do get our digging stick going. We're going to go a little bit farther away here and dig a little bit of a pit. There we go, rocks. Oh boy, that took way longer than it should have. Now we will make this pine tree into a lean-to. And now we have a little bit of an improvised shelter for the following nights. It will do for now. Eventually, we're going to want to cut down the rest of these trees. One of the next things that we want is a axe and a fire pit. We'll be able to get enough rocks with the digging stick to start the fire pit, but it's going to take quite a bit of time, so I think we're going to work on the axe first. In order to get a stone axe, we're going to need some soft hammering and some wood chiseling. The hammering we can get right away with a wooden billet, which is a thick, short wooden stick usually used in flint knapping. From there, we can also make a bow fire drill with the cordage pieces that we got from bashing down underbrush, and that will let us make a fire. We do need to make some notch sticks as essentially a ingredient for it. Doesn't look like we have a way to get to the wood chiseling, unfortunately. For now, it really did seem like digging more of a pit to try and get more rocks was our best option. We are struggling to figure out what we can use to chisel away to make our axe. Because once we have an axe, it opens us up to being able to make quite a few other things out here in the forest. But at least for today, we can put our fur cloak back down inside our little hovel here and potentially get some better sleep than yesterday. Early in the morning, Hunter did actually get a new idea. One of these large rocks, I wonder if it is heavy enough and strong enough to use to bash down one of the other large rocks in the area, essentially letting us generate quite a few stones. Oh, here goes nothing. It doesn't seem like we're actually able to damage that boulder with this one. Maybe this smaller boulder. Oh, there we go. Okay, so with that, we were actually able to completely deconstruct the smaller boulder, which means that theoretically, we should be able to make fire. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Hunter takes in the sight of seeing fire for the first time and knows that, well, this is at least progress. And unfortunately, we can't actually cook anything with this fire because we don't have anything to cook it in. And at the very least, we actually can eat these eggs raw, as awful as I'm sure that is. And we still have the magic of the Feywilds and Purification Seed in order to clean water for us. We have our most basic of needs stated, and now with a fire, which we can go ahead and put out, we will be able to spend our daytime gathering resources, and then nighttime we will study our book finally. The Book of Trees is going to be holding in its everything we need for our beginning survival and everything we need to be able to head into one of the human cities here very soon. The human cities with which we'll have quite a lot for us to scavenge. And because Hunter likes to look nice, we made a little thing called a chaplet, which is basically just a small ring of leaves that goes on our head. It's one of the few things that we can actually wear, and it reminds him of home. It may be a better idea to try and find some chunks of steel or lumps of steel in order to make a impromptu axe from some of the nearby scrap salvage. We did see that there is a swamp shack down here. There's probably some stuff that we can salvage from it without actually going all the way into town. So Hunter is actually going to sit down by the fire and read from the Book of Trees. We want to learn Nature's Bow, a spell that will allow us to once again summon a bow from our homeland. But unfortunately, it does mean that we're going to have to spend some time learning it, because it will not be something that we can learn and cast right away. And there we go. Reading well into the night, we finally get the spell up to level 1. Despite meditating with his bone charm for most of the night, thinking heavily on the old forests of the Feywild, we were not actually able to cast it. So that's unfortunate. Since we're already starting our campsite and we're struggling to get some other things, I do think that we're going to spend some of our mana every single day summoning some thorns nearby, slowly converting this area into a proper Druid grove. We also should be able to summon an actual Nature's Bow now, which we were able to do, and this reminds us that we should probably set up a practice target here so that Hunter can practice his aim. And as you can tell, he's not quite good at this yet. Not only are we going to eventually want a better bow than this, we're also going to want quite a bit more skill. If we can regularly miss an inanimate tree from 10 paces, Killing a zombie is not going to be an easy affair. I do think, though, that since we need an axe pretty badly, we're going to come down here and check out the swamp shack today. We don't have a lot of mana, so if we run into anything too scary, we will want to run away. Fortunately, those dinosaurs down there are not something we would classify as scary. It does look like there's at least something here. Hopefully no zombies. In preparation for this singular thought, Hunter does pull out his stone knife. Oh, look. We have some charcoal kilns, a wooden rack, some plastic bottles. That's actually useful to us. Smoking rack. Should be able to deconstruct this. Yeah, rocks and sticks. We'll have to keep in mind that we should be able to make a smoking rack back home just fine. And this is what we really cared about. Some jars. Even one 3-gallon glass jar lets us cook some stuff. I think this time we're going to bring back a large rock with us. And we'll see about trying to bash down some stuff back at this swamp shack. See if we can get some of the metal we need to make an axe. Oh. Well then, that'll work, as we seem to have simply just found a pickaxe. The Wild Hunt and Hunter as well believe in a very simple concept. Take what is given. Sure, do we love humans? No. Do we sort of hate the things that they've created in this world? Yes. Are we going to be so silly as to not take a pickaxe when it's directly given to us? No. We will take this. We have no desire to live in their homes, though. There we go. Chunks of steel. That'll get us our metal axe head, and that'll get us a lot of woods and sticks and stuff like that. So we actually have a little bit of a start now. And now we can chop down trees. Heck yeah. We can't make planks yet, but we can make an enormous amount of logs and sticks. Another night of reading by the fire. We've made some progress now with a metal axe head in our inventory, acting as a basic axe. Able to cut down some trees nearby. Go ahead and place some more stranglethorns nearby. Slowly creating a defensive barrier around our grove. And Hunter spends the night reading again. Now that we have this fire ring, we will theoretically be able to cook food, although we need something to cook it with. We'll get back to that in a moment. We have this metal axe head to start clearing down the trees around our campsite, a rock to get more rocks. Well, actually, more importantly, we have a pickaxe to get more rocks. Some of the basic tools that we need, and we are expanding our tool repertoire at every moment. And we do have enough mana to be able to conjure our bow, but not for very long, only about 12 minutes, which in the grand scheme of things is not very long at all. We do have food, as it were, more rather gathered from nature than an actual consistent source by any means. With the bare basics of his camp made, I do believe that Hunter wants to try and explore his surroundings a bit better. We did look around a little bit whenever we first arrived through the portal, which is just down south here. But we were just kind of exploring the forests. The first location we would like to go to is, in fact, the target of our hunt. The Forge of Wonders. Hunter knows that his target is not going to go down easy. He's aware of the fact that there's going to be defenses here, and that this building is going to house others as well. But for the time being, we don't have to be an enemy right away. We can take advantage of the Forge of Wonders and its myriad resources until the fateful day when we turn against these people. Even a tiger can look at its prey and smile. So I'm sure we can manage. At least right now, it looks fairly empty. There's only a handful of forge workers and some pirates who have a truly ridiculous amount of guns sitting on their desk. I'm sure they will not be afraid to use a single one of those against us. We have the Oracle in her smoky little shack. Someone we're actually going to be wanting to talk to sometime soon. Our dear Hunter has actually gotten a tip from one of his younger siblings, another scout who has visited the mortal realms, and we have a bit of a lead on something we'll want to do right away, but we need specifically one of the Forge Master, the heathen gods' coins, before we can do that. Perhaps we can find something to sell. And speaking of selling, we have our librarian. The librarian and I are going to become good friends. We will spend a lot of time together. They are the best person to sell to. In fact, let's go ahead and see if anything we have right now. Well, of course they want the Book of Trees. They also want our Wolf's Head cufflinks, which we have not mentioned, but they are a bit of an heirloom of hunters. They allow us to, in moments of absolute dire need, form a bit of a feral form, which will keep us alive. But there's one last person we need to check on. The guards here are going to be a problem. And another thing that's going to be a problem is this glass steel vault walls. It looks like it might just be glass, but it's probably going to be nigh impenetrable. Beyond the glass steel is a much larger concrete and glass steel vault. A few candelabras, chandeliers of ever-burning torches hanging from the ceiling. An impressive stock of magical items, books, and other paraphernalia. And then the affronting creature, Valzame of Siam, Forge Lord. Currently, he's wielding a Remington 700 because he has a taste for human weapons. But he has his terrifying cloak of Morthilla the Lamia, which will make it a lot harder to take him down, for it gives him significant ability to dodge. He's also wearing escape boots, so if he feels in danger, he will be able to flee. Flee out of his little cage and into the Forge of Wonders proper, where his allies will come to his aid. On top of that, we have been warned that there are traps involved. So even if we were to get some basic magic to teleport through and get into the chamber, before we could even raise our weapon to Valzame, we will activate a myriad of traps. And this is not going to be an easy affair. We're going to have to be powerful. We're going to have to be decisively quick and capable of dealing a very fast blow. And we're going to have to be capable of fighting our way back out, or somehow distracting all of the forge workers and various denizens. Essentially, our job isn't just to come here and deal with this stray god. Our job is to become powerful enough to do so. Hunter leaves the Forge of Wonders, purpose burning in his mind. Where to start? We need to be stronger, and in order to be stronger, we need to be stable enough to train, to learn, to craft spells and magic, get loot to trade to various people to get better magic. In fact, we're even going to be using the Forge of Wonders. We will sell them books and magical paraphernalia and medieval garb of all kind in order to be able to buy magic items off of the affronting god himself, only to one day turn and use those tools against him. He has an oracle. He knows what he is doing. And if he does allow us to buy from him, in his stubbornness, we will take advantage of his folly. For now, though, that is for another day. We need to explore our immediate surroundings and get a grasp on what's around us. Perhaps we're going to start with this evac shelter. If there's anything there, we might be able to procure some very basic supplies. We also need to be aware of the fact that there is a pond near our home that we will probably be able to get quite a few fish and just basic food off of. It'll be a good place to go to instead of farming, because farming is not terribly interesting. It looks like this place has seen better days. And there's a bandit to our southwest with a 6-round combat shotgun. I don't know if he saw us. Hunter goes prone in the darkness, crouching down, waiting to see if the human approaches. It looks like they're at some sort of campground. And they seem to be, at least for now, unaware of us. We shouldn't make any noise, but we should be able to gather some basic resources from this human establishment. And then just check on the bandit every once in a while. Make sure that he doesn't get any closer. Some sort of computer console here. Now, this would normally be a good source of information, but Hunter knows so little about computers that interacting with one is beyond alien to him. He thinks that it is simply some sort of strange viewport to some sort of weirdly stored book. Interacting with the buttons doesn't even cross his mind. Down below, though, we do have quite a few protein rations here. They're kind of disgusting, and we're not going to be excited at all to eat these, but they are useful. And it's good to remember that they're here. We'll come back and get them later. One good thing to keep in mind is taking notes on the map is incredibly useful. Putting down notes that mean something to you, like putting loot beforehand, so that if you go to search later, you can just type in loot, and you can look at your notes, and it'll say protein rations. With that bandit having... Oh, there's more than one, because that one has a crossbow. Well, that's not good. I was about to say, with them having a shotgun, I felt like we could approach fairly safely, but it does look like Hunter has actually spotted 4 bandits in this small campsite. That is a lot more than we want to deal with, especially without a significant weapon of our own, and especially during the middle of the day. We're going to head back north towards our camp and then beyond our camp to see what is along the river to our northeast. We need to get a good lay of the land because we'll be here for a little while. As we were heading east, we do actually spot signs of another survivor. Hunter probably sees smoke in the distance coming from a campsite and the sounds of more human movement. As in this swamp shack, there is some sort of dino lab survivor. We're definitely going to have to check that out. In fact, on the way though, we're going to check out this car. Some basic stuff. We'll definitely have to come back for some of the loot in that car later. There's some tools there that will come in handy. Things that we won't have to make ourselves. There are also some black puddings in the distance, writhing, sticky black smudge undulating across the ground. Faint sizzling comes from the ground beneath it as it lurches towards us. They are not actually lurching towards us quite yet, though, so we are going to just kind of avoid them. And yeah, it looks like there's someone in here. And some smoked meat, which we are just going to eat that man's smoked meat. As he turns the corner, the man seems to be aware of us, aware of Hunter, but he doesn't seem concerned at all. Greetings, human. Please, leave me be. I'm a humble muck farmer in this humble muck. Hunter stares at him and says, "You are dressed like a human scientist. Are you a scientist? You look a bit like a dinosaur. Are you a dinosaur? Are you a scientist dinosaur? You have seen through my ruse. In retrospect, I should have prepared a costume of some kind. Unimportant. You haven't attacked me or tried to seduce me. You aren't like the others. Had any bad headaches recently? Strange mood swings, strong urges? Desire for human flesh?" Hunter blinks a few times. Humans are strange indeed. Only the usual. What are you really? I am a hard-working professional in a challenging field adjusting to a recent change in circumstances. That's all you need to know. You look like you need help. Can I do anything for you? I have a job for you. Want to hear about it? He nods. I need a full chemistry set to do my work properly. I could use some help. Hunter shrugs. It's not necessarily a confirmation or a denial, but he's going to be scavenging anyways. If he comes across one, perhaps he will keep this particular human in mind. With that, though, unceremoniously, Hunter is going to just kind of just check through his stuff, see if there's anything there. It doesn't look like he has anything interesting, so we're just kind of going to back out here. That was definitely an interaction. There does seem to be quite a few dinosaurs around here. Fortunately, it looked like we have lucked out, and the dinosaurs that are around Hunter's campsite all seem to be of breeds that are not terribly dangerous to us, which in the long run will mean that they're going to be helpful to us. They'll kill off a lot of the zombies that make their way out of the city. And speaking of the city, it appears that very close to our actual campsite which is just over here, there's a bridge into the city. This will be very, very useful for night raids. Our chosen campsite is actually potentially a lot better than Hunter first thought so. But for now, we really need some basic things like a backpack or some supplies. I believe we're going to head back and see what else we can craft in order to get some of the absolute basics out of the way. One thing that Hunter's going to need is going to be a weapon. We can summon our bow, yes, but having some sort of melee weapon is going to be very useful as well. Ideally, we get a knife, but for the time being, I think it might be a good idea to go ahead and make a wooden spear. The wooden spear will give us something to use until Hunter is a little bit better at other weapons. Go ahead and rest that against a nearby tree. And I think we might actually take to summoning our bow and heading down to this pond to see if we can get some food. We also might be able to steal some eggs from the dinosaur nests nearby, but those will be more useful to us once we actually have a way to cook the food. Oh, this pond is actually quite large. The chance that this has consistent fish in it is actually going to be fairly high. We go ahead and use our holy symbol, having Hunter pray to nature a little bit. We might be able to, get our chance of summoning our wood bow high enough that we can actually use it. See if we can take out one of these frogs. Oh man, our chance of hitting it is so incredibly low. It is in fact so low that it's almost not worth trying. There is fish in the water though. Worst case scenario, we could also just use magic to kill one of the fish. After quite a bit of wading around in the water, it does seem like this is not the best way to get this done. We need to be a lot better at hunting. For now, we dine on some cattails. Oh, wait. Can we get a shot off? Taking a few pot shots at a nearby fish, and yeah, it's already gone. Despite being a hunter, the type of hunter that's our dear wild hunt fae is more of the hunter of men and of monsters, not of fish. Surviving on his own, especially in the mortal realms, is new to him. It is kind of part of the test, though, so we're going to have to get good at this. For now, we're going to head back and see about getting some stuff done around the campsite, and maybe spending some of our time reading the Book of Trees in order to get better at our nature's bow, but also get better at some other things. We're thinking about learning Root Strike, and more importantly, Restoration, focusing on those 3 spells for now. Nature's Commune might also be useful. Because it will calm nearby wildlife, it will be very useful for potentially taming anything that we want to create as some sort of familiar or assistant, as Hunter is quite used to having animals in his care. It will also allow him to potentially hunt things a little bit easier as well. Since we're already quite tired, I think that reading through some spells is going to be first. It would be wasteful to not use our mana as it comes up, so I do believe that every time we have enough mana, we are going to walk over to one of the areas along the side and cast more Stranglethorns, slowly creating a natural barrier around our campsite, so that if anything does sneak up on us, they will at least begin to get bled, and it will conceal us slightly from the outside, along with slowing down anything that tries to come on our camp. It'll let us start up our fire ring at night without much concern for being attacked by zombies in the dark. After cutting down some of the surrounding trees, we do actually have enough to build a improvised shelter now. All we need to do is take out our digging stick, put a shallow pit right next to us. We're going to put down the improvised shelter, which is going to be a little bit better, largely because we can kind of hide in it as well. In our experience, it's less likely that we're going to be attacked while we're inside the improvised shelter, because things are not going to be able to see us easily. Now, it's going to take some time, but we do have the ability to make a stone chisel, which will kind of get us into some of the other tools we need. So we're going to grab a lot of our supplies from our digging expedition and get started on that, because that will actually allow us to make a lot of other basic flint knapped tools. Hunter isn't super interested in finding and using tools made by humans, especially whenever he can make them himself. He has a higher value to anything made by himself. So he would far rather be out in the woods alone, isolating himself from the ruins of this once human-occupied world, and nap his own tools. It is going to take a while to make this stone chisel, though. Over 20 hours, I do believe, because, well, he's honestly just not very good at napping yet. 16 hours, as it were. So in the meantime, we are going to continue our reading. We've already managed to get our Nature's Bow up to level 4, but we need it to be high enough level that Hunter is going to be able to cast it even with low focus, even in a moment of panic. Plus, as we level it up, it will also last longer. And eventually, if we master this spell, it will unlock the ability for us to learn an even stronger version. And let's not forget to not waste our mana. Go ahead and summon some Strandlethorns over here as well. We are quite hungry in the middle of the night, so I think before going to sleep, I believe that Hunter might try again at going on a bit of a fishing excursion, this time with their spear. We have the ability to see quite well in the dark, and we can investigate any of the shrubberies to forage along the way, so perhaps we can get some food. It does seem like Hunter's able to sneak up on the fish. He can see better than they can. But since they're occupying the center of the lake... Oh, we just managed to trap one. Perfect. This is exactly what we were trying to do. Staring in into shadows, Hunter's taking swing after swing at it, wildly missing over and over again. This may have to be our method. Staring them into these little alcoves, and then taking swings at them until we finally manage to hit them. In fact, we're actually going to take off our leather pouch to have a slightly better chance of hitting this thing. Ah, finally, after a disappointingly long amount of time, we did finally manage to take out the perch. It looks like we're going to have to haul it back, though. We should set up a butchering area over by the lake sometime soon. Put a little campfire out here, etc., so that we can butcher the fish by the water itself and then only bring back what we need. Like a classical caveman, Hunter's literally having to drag the fish along the ground back to our campsite. Can only imagine what his fellows, his peers, would have thought of him doing this. But it's a survival situation. We can't really complain. After a full butchery, we only managed to get a scrap of fish and a basic fish fillet. Is there anything we can do with that? Yes, we actually can use our spear in order to cook those. Well, that's useful. The first food that Hunter has made for himself. A little bit of cooked fish and some strapped fish. Some water as his drink. It's not the most impressive meal, but it does mean that we will be able to do some basic survival. And once we get the ability to cook some, it should go a little bit better as well. We're taking some time to clean up the camp while we organize our thoughts. Living this life of simple camping out in the woods, we've already been here a week, which is wild to imagine. We have not even seen a single zombie yet. It's been a peaceful life. It's simply a precursor to things that are going to be far less peaceful. Let's see if we can get this stone chisel made. It's going to open the way to a lot of other tools. And it's raining. The fact that it rains at all does mean that we might be able to get some sort of tarp going, some sort of rain catcher going in our camp here for a more consistent supply of water. These forest pools are actually decent water with 169 water in that pool, but eventually it will go dry. And yeah, we have the river nearby, but it would be nice to be able to have clean water where we don't have to take an extra step to clean it. Hunter's life right now is literally spending his entire day working on this stone chisel, and then spending his nights working on reading through the Book of Trees, learning more about the spells that are going to be, honestly, a cornerstone to survival. We're definitely going to have to level this up quite a bit more, but using our basic knowing the day and hour spell does tell us that it's already midnight. Let's see if we can go and get another fish. We might even be able to make some fishing traps eventually as well. We could use some of the plastic and some cordage from the bushes around us to make a basic trap. Bay like Hunter are actually allergic to plastic. So we don't want to wear any, but we should be able to use the basic plastic in order to like make a trap, and it won't be that much of a problem. Being a fae, sometimes concepts are very strong to creatures like Hunter. He is aware of the fact that the humans are afraid of the ocean. And him and his people are convinced that the reason that humans invented plastic is because they created a unique, special cancer to kill their oceans that they were so incredibly scared of. Very wise, but unfortunately, considering the fact that the oceans are natural and so is the Fae, they are equally as effective against killing us. If we were to ingest it or wear it too long, I imagine he would break out into hives. But after we get this knife done, we should probably work on getting a butchering mat going so that we can get more out of these catches of ours. Oh, here we go. That was a much larger fish. 8 scraps of fish, some fillets. Well, unfortunately, between the rain and the inability to start the fire because of the lack of notched sticks, we're actually just going to be forced to go to bed. Well, I guess we'll deal with the meat in the morning. We can't actually make notched sticks in order to make our campfire kit while it's out in the rain while we can't see. We'll have to keep that in mind for the future. Make more of these. Make sure that we always have some on hand. So it does look like every once in a while, we're going to be able to actually make a decent amount of food from the lake, from the pond. So we might actually want to get some basic food preservation going at some point soon. We would need a hammer, which is part of the reason that we're making the stone chisel. I guess back to working on that. Man, we're dead tired in the middle of the day. That's very unfortunate. After a few quick naps, we finally have our stone chisel. It'll allow us to do some basic woodworking, which means that we should be able to make a hammer now. Yes, we can. We can also make a polishing stone, which will let us do a few other things as well. And then we can also make a stone adze, which will help us saw. And wood sawing will be pretty useful in the long run. For now, we just need some sticks, get our stone hammer going, and then once we have that, we should be able to go and make the adze as well. So, on the hunt for more sticks. Eventually, we will have a better way of getting a lot of sticks, but for now, dead trees are still going to be our best resources for that. Looks like it's only going to take 3 hours to make the stone hammer. That's going to be a lot better than it did to make the chisel, but it will still spend the rest of the day doing that. We should be able to get it done during this actual day, though, as long as we don't get too tired. Yes, we did. Okay, cool. So now we have a little bit of a stone hammer, which gives us the hammering quality. Add that to our pile of tools. I also just realized that we have some bones now, so we can also make ourselves a few bone items like a punch and some other stuff, which will be useful. We're also going to make a bone flute. There's something beautiful about our hero being a fae playing a bone flute out in the middle of the woods in order to keep his mood up. It does look like going to our little pond during the day seems to be pretty useless. We've been sitting here for a few minutes and nothing's coming up. So, kind of wondering if maybe it's a better idea to head to the lake with our spear. Sorry, to head to the river with our spear and see if we have any luck there. The only issue is that we might attract some zombies, and yeah, that's the other issue, is that the river is so wide that we're not going to be able to trap anything between us and the shore. Well, that's a lesson learned, unfortunately. It means that we're not going to really have food, and we're going to be sustaining off of water alone for another day. Although I guess we could go around and just get some basic foraging, just so that Hunter has at least a little bit of calories in him. Otherwise, he's going to start getting sick. We may be immune to disease, but we're not going to be immune to withering away due to lack of food. Well, we managed to eat some stuff, so we can go ahead and get started on our stone adze, but it looks like we need some short cordage for that. That's no problem. As Hunter was napping out his saw, his primitive saw, we have experienced the first tiny cataclysm, an aftershock of the original portal storm, which allowed hunter and the other wild hunt to bring a singular member of the hunt into this world, a novice, as it were, training to become a full-fledged member of the wild hunt. This one is small enough that we should be able to ignore it, to be honest. And we should be able to just continue working. Well, we just had a flatlander walk up on us. So we're going to rush over here, grab our spear, and it actually managed to hurt us. I'm not sure if that's what's happening. And the presence reached out to us. Hunter knows what this is. It is a voice, a mirror of their own, a mirror of the consciousness of humanity and all of its maliciousness, a thing from afar that has created this dead world. We have no interest in it. We're going to ignore it. And we're gonna swing wildly at this flatlander until the world explodes into smoke. Might be a good idea to just catch our breath inside our shelter. Work on our tool crafting for a little bit. Yeah, and really wasn't a problem in the long run. I hope you have enjoyed the first episode of A Cataclysm to Kill a God. If you have, please do not forget to subscribe to see more episodes in the future. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and leave a comment if you wish. I read every single one. I hope the world treats you well, and goodbye.